Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 206, and I'm Lisa, your host, also known as Fiber Nymph on Ravelry and Instagram. So today is Wednesday, June 22nd. I've actually gotten to record on a Wednesday this week, which there's a reason for that, and I am going to tell you. Ordinarily, this is something that I would wait and share during the 10% if I was going to share it at all, but because I'm probably going to be referencing it a good bit throughout the podcast, it makes more sense to just talk about it right here. I need to make an emergency trip to Florida. We've got, I think I told you guys back probably when I told you I was getting married, and we were going to be getting married in Florida. And the reason we were getting married in Florida was because my stepfather was undergoing treatment for pancreatic cancer, and I knew he wouldn't be able to travel. Anyway, we found out last week. Actually, I found out last week while I was recording the podcast, which was one of the reasons that I had to pause, because last week's podcast was so choppy, and I apologize again for that, but I had to cut or stop several times. My mom called me in the middle of me doing the podcast last week to let me know that they had just come from the doctors and things were not looking good. The chemo was no longer working, and there was nothing else that they could do for him, which we had a hunch was the case because he'd been doing really well for a while. He was just super tired from the chemo, but then he was having other things go wrong, and he wasn't able to eat because he was very uncomfortable. And I won't go into all the gory details, but as it is, they had to stop chemo, and basically they went from having home health come to hospice. No idea how long he has. If you've ever been in this kind of situation with anyone that you love, it's hard, and there is no way of knowing how much time there is. And all through this whole thing, ever since he was diagnosed back in late February, whenever it was, I told my mom, if there's ever a time that you need me down there with you to do something, or if you just want me there, you let me know. I will make the arrangements and I'll be there. And she was always like, no, everything's fine. We've got what we need. I'm able to take care of stuff. He's okay. We're going to get through this. Okay. But I kept reminding her of that, and she always declined. And, she's like, no, you're coming down in August for the wedding. That'll be wonderful and everything. And anyway, so that was last Thursday when I got that phone call. And then talking to her over the weekend, well, actually, I didn't get to talk to her much over the weekend for a different reason, which I'll talk about later. But when I talked to her on Monday, she's like, it would be really nice if you could be here. And I'm like, I'm there. I will make the arrangements. And so originally, Bill and I had next weekend blocked off because we had tentatively had a trip planned that we were going to go on next weekend over the 4th of July. And then we had already changed our minds. We weren't going to do that because we had too much other stuff to do here at home, like doing stuff with the houses and doing stuff, wedding prep, things like that. So we were just going to stay home. But since we already had that weekend blocked off and vacation time already planned, that was like the perfect time to go down to Florida. So I made those arrangements, told my mom we'll be there next weekend. So it was only 2 weeks away, and that seemed okay, because things didn't seem like it was like last minute dire or anything, and 2 weeks seemed okay. So then as I continued to talk to my mom over this week, it was like, actually, no, you know what? I take that back. My time frame's all screwed up. We had made those plans before the weekend. Like, I think last Friday, I had made those plans for us to travel over 4th of July weekend. It was when I talked to her on Monday that she was sounding like things were just not going well. And the more she talked, the more I just had this internal, like, I need to get down there. I need to get down there, feeling. And, I said to her, I need to come down sooner. And she's like, well, it's hard for you. You have your business. I'm like, I'll call you later today. And so I got off the phone, and I'm basically telling Bill, I have to get down there. If you can't go right now, that's fine, but I have got to get down there. And he's like, just make the plans. I'll rearrange stuff at work, do whatever. And so I did. We have fast forwarded the plans, leaving tomorrow instead of next Thursday. And we will be down there through next Tuesday. We're driving, so it's 15 hours one way. lots of car knitting time coming up in my future, which I guess is the silver lining for this whole thing, because it's certainly not a reason why I want to be going to Florida, you know, but it is so hard. Um, you know, at this point, I'm definitely going down for my mom's sake to be with her. Right now, her sister, my aunt, is with her, which I'm so thankful for. They had come to visit last weekend, which was one of the reasons I didn't stay in touch with my mom, because I knew her sister was there, and I was traveling last weekend. And anyway, so I was really glad that she was there. And apparently, like, I talked to my aunt this week because I wanted kind of another person's opinion on how things were going down there, and she confirmed that things are not well. And anyway, she said, you know what, I have absolutely nothing going on this summer. She says, I can stay however long your mom wants me here. And so it sounds like she's prepared to stay for the duration, which I'm very thankful for. That would be awesome for my mom, because I don't want her to be alone. And I do not have that flexibility to just pick up and go down there for however long. I wish I could, but I can't. And she understands that. I mean, you know, that's not a problem. And, you know, I would make it work if she really needed me to. You know, something, it would work one way or another. But anyway, yeah, so we're going a fast planned trip to Florida this weekend, and I hope my stepdad will see me. He's been kind of withdrawn ever since they got that news. He kind of gave up, and I think as part of his processing, you know, his process of processing what's going on with him and facing his and you know, he hasn't wanted to talk to anybody on the phone, like not even his own kids, because his kids live up here too. That's the hard thing. Like, your whole family's up here, but they moved to Florida 10 years ago. And I'm happy for them because they loved it. They've had a wonderful 10 years there. That's where they wanted to be, you know. But even when they were moving, we're like, you know, what happens if something happens to one of you and we're all up here and you're down there? And they're like, oh, it'll be fine. You know, you don't think about those things at the time. And it's obviously not a reason to not move to where you want to be, but it does make things difficult. And I know that many of you have probably been in the same situation and can relate to what I'm saying. When you're 800 miles or something away, I mean, even if you're in the next town or the next block from whoever it is, it's hard, but the distance definitely complicates things. So anyway, all that to say, I've had to do a lot of shuffling. And it's not just the travel plans, but, like, you know, Bill's had to rearrange things at work so he can leave. I'm having to rearrange things at work here in my business so that I can leave. It's pushing a couple of deadlines that I've talked to pretty much everybody, almost everybody, about that, but I know it's fine. You know, everybody knows what's going on, and you know, everybody's been very understanding, and I'm very thankful for that. Knitters are awesome. So anyway, but yeah, so that's what's going on in my week, and that's part of the reason why my podcast was a little choppy last week, because I had to pause when she called, and then when I came back and continued to record, like, I started talking a little bit about that, and then I got upset, and then I had to cut that part out. And I did that a couple of times, and it was like, it was not a good situation. But I couldn't just totally re-record the podcast because I was almost done with it at the time. So anyway, this week will hopefully be better with fewer choppiness pieces. Words. Yeah. All right. So that's what's going on around everything else. And now we're going to talk about knitting. And I just want to welcome you. I should have done that first, I guess. You know, if this is the first time you're watching, I usually don't go into all this personal stuff right off the bat. I usually save anything like that for later in the podcast during the 10% part. But because it is kind of my focus right now, it's like, you know, coloring everything, quite literally, it needed to be talked about first. So anyway, but I'm glad you're here, whether you're brand new or have been around a while. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Okay, let's talk about the knitting. The wedding skirt. That has gotten some... That's not the right bag. Hang on a minute. I've added 2.5 inches to it. So I'm at like 5.5 inches now past that turning row. So I think what I'm going to do shortly is I'm actually going to go ahead and hem this casing up where it needs to be, because it's really bugging me just hanging there. I think I want to have it there so that if I want to, I could go ahead and put this on waste yarn and thread elastic through it, or even just a tie, and try it on as I go. So that's probably going to happen soon. But anyway, I'm still just knitting stockinette. I have completed all of the increases that I was doing from the waist to the hip. So that part's finished. So now I just have to figure out where I'm going from here. I'm still not down to crotch level, which is what I was saying. I wanted to do stockinette down that far. I don't want to start doing lace, even though there's going to be something underneath it. I wanted to have it down. Well, you know, it really doesn't matter because there is going to be a petticoat on underneath it. So I could start doing patterning now, and I may. I wanted stockinette from the waist to the hip, though, because whatever top I wear is going to come down probably to just above my hips. So I just wanted that to be smooth and nothing, you know, that would cause any type of weirdness there. So anyway, yeah, as you can tell from the way I'm talking about this is a very design it as I go project, which you might think, this is for your wedding. You should be more on top of this, and I probably should. But you know what? This is sort of how I do things in life. And it always works out. You know, even as far as planning travel, you know, I'm really good at just winging stuff and doing things at the last minute. And quite honestly, at this point in life, that's the other thing about this stuff with my stepdad, you don't know what's going on. And so there is no way to plan. So with that and with the wedding and with everything, I'm pretty much in the mindset of having a plan A and then having contingencies. Okay, there's plan B if we need to do this, plan C if we need to do this, plan D, and I'm just rolling with it. And I'm fine with that. It's not stressing me out. I mean, the situation with my stepdad is stressful because I feel bad that, you know, they're going through this, but like the having to roll with it part, I'm good with it right now. I'm just saying, I'm good with it. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to, I think what I'm going to do, since I'm going to have all this car knitting time, again, that's why I'm talking about that first. This is going with me. I should be able to knock out a whole lot of this skirt. I'm going to take a pattern book, one of my stitch dictionaries with me, and then I'm going to just, you know, insert the patterns as I go. It'll be fine. Trust me. I'm a professional. Okay, so anyway, for those of you who haven't seen this before, this is the skirt that I'll be wearing at my wedding. I'm making it out of Elspeth Levold Hempathy, which is a hemp, cotton, and modal blend, and it is lovely. It's got a beautiful drape. I'm knitting this on US 4s. It's considered a DK weight yarn. I think it's kind of lighter than that, but it's lovely. And I did take the time at one of our viewers who she mentioned it in the comments, and she also sent it to me in a private message that, you know, to look on Ravelry at some of the Hempathy projects that have been done, and especially the skirts, because there have been a lot of skirts done out of Hempathy, because she said there's a lot of comments there that might give me ideas about how things are going to work out. And I did look at that, and for the most part, I've seen nothing negative about Hempathy, about how it acts with the patterning, like growing too much or anything like that. So I'm feeling very secure in what I'm doing from that respect, how this is going to work out. So anyway, this will be going with me. I need to transfer it to a larger bag at this point, mostly because I need to take a whole bunch of balls of yarn with me and I can't fit them all in this little bag. So this will be going into a new project bag soon. Okay, so that's one project. The other thing I worked on this week was the fireworks sock, which last week you saw it. I was done with the cuff. This is the second sock, and this is Neely's Knits yarn in the You're a Firework colorway. So I had the cuff done last week, and I did the heel flap, and I've done the heel turn, and I picked up all of the gusset stitches, and I think I've only done I picked up the gusset stitches, and then I did the first round, because anytime I pick up gusset stitches, my first round of gusset in the gusset is I always knit through the back loop of all of the stitches that I picked up because that helps tighten them and then you don't get gaps. So I picked up the stitches. I did my knit through the back loop round just on the gusset stitches, not on the heel stitches or the pattern, the instep stitches. And then I think that's where I'm at. I don't think maybe did I do one decrease round? Yeah, I did do one decrease round. So that's on the go. And I'm fairly confident I will finish this while I'm away, which will be nice because then I can apply this to Stash Dash. Yay. I'll have to wait till I come home to really weigh how much yarn I used and everything. But that's almost a finished object. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel on that one. I mean, it's socks. It's not like, you know, horribly difficult or anything. But that will also be travel knitting. So, and I'm knitting those on US ones, and it's a staggered rib pattern that I'm just kind of doing on my own. It's nothing fancy. Okay, the other thing I worked on, which is something you have not seen in a super, super long time. Hang on a minute, need coffee. I love this mug. My son got this for me for Christmas. A morning without coffee is like sleep, and that is so true. Anyway, I haven't shown you guys this in a very long time, and I need to actually do something here while I'm talking. Last week when I recorded, one of the questions that I answered from the Do You Have Questions thread was from Ange in the East. She asked about, you know, whatever happened to your natural shawl that you were working on? Did I miss seeing it finished? And I said no, I'd never even started it because I thought she was talking about the shawl that I had planned to knit out of the natural colored Shetland that I had spun last fall. And then I'm not quite finished with because I still have the one color of it to do. I thought that's what she was talking about. Well, as it turns out, that wasn't the shawl she was talking about at all. She was talking about the garter bias wrap that I started earlier this year. And here it is. And you have not seen this in a while because I really have not worked on it in ages. The last time you saw it was where that blue marker is. And I believe I did work on it a little bit more after that, but then I just never showed you because it wasn't that much. So I pulled it out the other day to look at it and see where it was. And since it was sitting out, I've actually added to it. Not all of that from the blue marker on. Like I said, I had done, I think the blue marker was from the last, well, I'm not sure when the blue marker was from. Like I said, it's been an awful long time since I've shown this to you. But anyway, I did, I started here. So from here on upwards, I think is what I did since I pulled it out. So that marker is quite outdated, actually. Anyway, yeah, so this is the one that I'm doing just with a whole bunch of different yarns. I have 8 different yarns. They're on the project page. I'm not going to list them. And this lives in a basket under the end table next to my chair in the living room. And I think I kind of ran out of steam on it because I had started the Atalaya shawl and I'd started a couple of other big projects, and I just kind of got bored with this one. And now that I've pulled it back out and started working on it again, I'm like, why did I get bored with this? This is fun. I love doing this. So maybe this will actually get done during SSK because I wasn't thinking that it would. Actually, I worked on it a little this morning, and what I did, I measured. So, all right, there's the beginning, and then I measured the length of it, which it's on the bias now, so it goes like that. I'm trying to keep the... Yeah, okay. Anyway, I'm aiming for this to be, it's going to be a long rectangular wrap. And I'd like it to be 6 feet long. I'm 5'4", so I want it to be, you know, a little longer than my wingspan, because your wingspan is roughly the same as your height. So I'm 5'4", which is 64 inches. So 72 inches would be 6 foot, correct? 72 inches? Yeah. Did I say that wrong? 5? Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. You'd think I'd know this stuff. But anyway, I'm at 43 inches. The long edge right now is 43 inches. So I did all the maths. So my increase section before I started working straight was 21 inches long. Okay. And so now I'm working straight and I'm at 43 inches. So I've got 21 inches of the increase and 22 inches working straight. So I need another 8 inches worked straight, because that will take me up to, what, 51 inches. And then I'll start doing the decreases on both ends to make the other end, because 51 plus 21 will equal 72. I did the math, and I even did that on my first cup of coffee this morning, and I think it's right. So this is basically about 60% finished. I didn't think I was as far as I was, but I'm really excited to know that I am. So that's why I'm actually thinking I may haul this whole thing with me to Florida and work on it in the car and while I'm at my mom's, because I'm going to have a lot of time where I'm just sort of sitting around, I'm pretty sure. Because my whole point of going is to hang out with my mom, be there, whatever she needs. If she needs me to run to the grocery store, needs me to do laundry, needs me to do whatever. Mostly I'm going so that I can give her a huge hug, which I keep telling her, and she's like, I can't wait. I need that so much. And, even though her sister's there and I'm glad and it's wonderful to have her there, it's not her daughter, Anyway, so, but, we're going to just have time. And so I anticipate having a lot of knitting time. I know Bill and I are also, she's like, I don't want you sitting in this house 24/7 while you're down here. You need to get out and you guys need to do things. And I'm like, well, that's fun. And we are. We're driving down, so we're going to take our bikes, because there's areas right around my mom where it's nice to bike. It's all flat down there. So we'll have our bikes. I told her, that's fine. We can go ride our bikes. I can show him around the island, because he's never been to Fernandina Beach, Amelia Island area. So, we can do that, and we can see where our condo is that we've rented for when we're down there for the wedding, and, all that stuff. So it'll be fine, but we'll have things to do. But there is going to be downtime, so I want to take knitting things that I can work on. The other thing I wanted to show you about this, and you know what, I don't remember what size needles I'm using. I think these might be 8s. Maybe they could be 9s, but I'm pretty sure maybe they're 8s. And I don't know. These are Addy Turbos, and the print is really well worn off of the cable at this point. I think they're 8s. Anyway, I could look on my project page, but I'm not going to right now. A lot of podcasts recently have been talking about point protectors, and you put them on the points of your needles in order to keep the stitches from falling off. I have some, but I've never had a huge amount of luck with them, because a lot of times they just pop off. I tend to use rubber bands. That's what I paused to do before, because I didn't want things to be falling off the needles while I was showing you. So I stuck some rubber bands on here. Okay, are you going? There we go. So it's just rubber bands, and I wrap them around the ends of the needles, and, it keeps the stitches from flying off whenever you're manipulating things. They're not going anywhere. So it's a really cheap and easy and fast way to have stitch holder, point protectors, or whatever you want to call it. It's actually not, like, a point protector will keep things from falling off needles, but it also protects from the points sticking into things you don't want to. Obviously, the rubber bands don't do that. But if all you're interested in is keeping your stitches from falling off your needles, rubber bands work wonderfully. Okay, so anyway, this is the shawl that you were wondering about. And sorry that I totally got that wrong last week. But yeah, it's coming along, and I'm looking forward to having it done. It's going to be nice and big and squishy and warm. It's getting big enough now where I can have it on my lap while I'm working on it. So it was cool this morning, which made it okay. Like on a 90-degree day with humidity, probably would not want to have this on my lap unless the AC was on. So anyway, but it's coming along. Thank you for asking about it, though, because that spurred me to get it out and actually look at it, and now I'm going to work on it. I have no idea what I'm going to take this to Florida in with me, though, because it's huge already, and all the yarn is huge. I may just take it in the basket. I don't know. Okay, so that's all the knitting that I have done this week. I've done no spinning, just no time to do that. So, yeah, I have to think about if I want to take anything else travel knitting-wise. That's a lot, and I'm sure I'm not going to finish all those things, but I'd like to have choices. So I may take my advanced to-go socks that are in progress. Haven't worked on those in a while. I may take my mini granny square, like just yarn to make little mini granny squares, because that's always a good fill-in, quickie project kind of thing to do. So anyway, we'll see. I'll keep you posted, but hopefully I'll have a whole lot to show you once I return. Just to let you know, my hat pattern, the 3-color colorwork hat pattern is out with testers. I meant to mention that last week and I think I forgot to. So I've heard back from 2 of my testers so far. I haven't heard from the 3rd one. I need to check in with her, but I'm hoping to have that finished up and have some kits ready for that before I go away to SSK in July. I mean, I'm definitely going to take some with me to SSK, but I'd like to have some in the shop before I go to SSK too, especially with the Craft the Kit craft along starting August 1st. So let's talk about that. I think I did. Oh gosh, did I? See, I'm losing it here. Did I put a thread up? Because I said I was going to put a thread up about it, and I don't remember if I did. No, I didn't. How did I not do this? I know I mentioned it in the show notes from last week, right? I did put information about it in the show notes. Yes. I'm sorry, I did not put the thread up. I will put a thread up. I'll do my best. I can't promise it's going to be today because I have a whole lot to do before I leave, but the information is at least in the show notes. So, but just to remind you, the Craft the Kit craft along is going to start August 1st. So that is for knitting, crocheting, weaving, felting, cross stitching, needlepoint, sewing, anything that comes in a kit. And let me just re-explain what I mean by a kit. A kit means you have a pattern, a specific pattern, and the materials that you need. So pattern and yarn, pattern and cross stitch floss, pattern and wool for felting, or like instructions and wool for felting a specific little thing. If it's sewing, like fabric to make a specific project that came with the pattern, it has to be, those 2 components have to be there together. Like you have to have purchased it together, not separately, like you were at Joann's and you bought a pattern and then you went and bought fabric for it. It has to actually have come in a package together and be counted as a kit. Somebody, I believe on, maybe it was the episode thread last week, mentioned something about, spinning fiber that was for a particular pattern. But unless the pattern actually came with the spinning fiber that you're spinning for the project, it doesn't count as a kit. So I'm not sure how spinning would fit into this, unless there is fiber that you're buying that has a specific purpose to be used as a particular project. Once it's spun and you're using that pattern and it all came together, then it's a kit. So anyway, that's the Craft the Kit cow. So you can look at that. You'll get 1 point per kit project that you finish during the knit along or the craft along, which is going to run from August 1st through mid-September, probably like September 15th. And you'll get 3 points per kit project if you're using one of my kits, a Fabric Nymph Dye Works kit. So that would be the Flurry cowl, the Takushcha cowl, Melissa's Color Tracks hat, if you bought one of those kits that I've got in the shop. This new hat kit that I'll be coming out with, the Rambler, when I sell the Rambler skeins with the pattern, that counts as a kit. So any of those, that would count as a Fabric Nymph Dye Works kit that you could use. If you were in my Spin Challenge Club a couple of years ago, where I sent out fiber for each installment of the club, and it came with a lesson sheet on different things, like one was on blending and one was on different types of spinning, that would count as a spinning kit because it was the fiber and a specific thing you were meant to do with the fiber. That would be an example of a spinning kit. But other than that, I can't think of anything else spinning wise, again, unless it would come fiber that you were spinning to make a specific pattern that came with the fiber. So, okay. And that's how you get the points. And we will have prizes. The grand prize for that craft along is going to be a $50 gift certificate to my shop. And I will let you know about other prizes as I get them figured out. So, okay. Stash Dash, I'm still at my 1,955 meters. I haven't added any more finished projects to that yet. So hopefully I'll have more soon. I do have some new things I want to show you real quick. First of all, I got the Book of Haps. It came in the mail, I think yesterday or the day before. I haven't even looked through it. Seriously, I got it and I opened it and I started reading. I didn't even flip through it all to look at the patterns, which is unusual because I would usually do that. But there are these essays at the beginning. I think there's 5 essays about the history of Haps. And that was what I wanted to read. And so I'm just a little bit into that. I'm using my REI flyer I got in the mail that day also as my bookmark. Anyway, I'm probably going to be taking this with me on my trip so that I can read through some of it. So hopefully I will actually be able to do sort of a review of it the next time I record. But I did get it, and it's beautiful. I mean, look at that. I love that one on the front. Isn't that pretty? It's just gorgeous. And, you know, the photography, just flipping through it, and even the pictures I've seen of it online. The photography is lovely. Okay, and that's from Kate Davies Designs. She did not do all of the patterns in it. There's several designers in it, but she's the one who edited it, and I'm pretty sure she wrote some of the essays. I'm not 100% sure about that either. I think she did, though. If not all of them. Maybe she wrote all of them. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to show you, this was actually a prize that we had for the Mini Mayhem Cal. This was donated by JD Craft Shop, who is Danny and her boyfriend or beau, James. He has a shop on Etsy. It's called JD Craft Shop, capital J, capital D, craft with a capital C, and shop with a capital S on Etsy. They donated one of the Nitty Naughties for a prize, but then she also offered to send me one, and that was lovely of her. So thank you again, Danny, for doing that. And I wanted to talk about it now that I have it. Their Etsy shop will be carrying these. They're currently not in there, though. She said they're adding more colors and things like that, so they're not in the shop yet. But if you go to the shop, you will see some absolutely beautiful woodwork stuff for knitting and sewing. They have gorgeous sock blockers, wooden sock blockers. There are wooden shawl pins, and they have beautiful wooden stitch rippers, like seam rippers for sewing. Oh my goodness, they're lovely. So go check out their Etsy shop, and I will include the link in the show notes. But anyway, the little mini Nitty Naughty is so cool. It's made with a 3D printer, and it comes apart. It's like you can take it with you when you're going places if you need to take a Nitty Naughty. Obviously, it's going to make small hanks, and it just goes together like that. It just fits together. Super portable, super lightweight, and it just makes these cute itty-bitty little skeins. So this is how big they are. You know, when you take it off the Nitty Naughty, that's how big it'll be. Not very big. Like, I'd say it's a little over a foot, you know. So they're great for if you're trying to do mini skeins for a swap or something. Really, really nice for that. Or if you, like I said, if you just need a travel Nitty Naughty and don't want to take a big one along with you, you could probably get away with using this. Now, if you were wrapping like 400 yards on this, I think that might be a bit too much. But if it's going to be smaller skeins, like off of a, I don't know. I don't know. Smaller skeins, this is going to work great for you. If you get too much yardage, I think it's going to be a little overwhelming. Now, the only thing I will say is make sure if you're using one of these, you want to wrap it. You don't want to wrap it super tight because they have this divot, which is great for holding it on there, but it makes it a little harder to get off if you've wrapped too tight because you have to get up over that bump. But yarn has stretch, so it's really not a huge big deal. But I would that's the only caution that I would offer to you about that. But otherwise, it is a fabulous tool in general, and I think it's so cute. It's just adorable. So anyway, again, thank you, Danny and James, for sending that to me so that I can share it with everybody else. And again, I will put that link to their Etsy shop in the show notes, and please go check out their beautiful wooden creations that are on there. And eventually the Nitty Naughties will be there too. Let's see, questions. We did have a new question from the Do You Have Questions thread. And let me get to that. Sorry, I thought I had it up, but apparently I don't. Do you have questions? Yes, we do. Brooklyn Knitter, who is, what's your first name? Carolyn from Brooklyn. She asked, now that you have explained what rescanning is, what tools are a must to rescan yarn, and what tools aren't a must to have but will make the job easier? Okay, well, it all depends on what you're rescanning. I mean, obviously when I showed you last week, like if you're rescanning as a dyer, you know, you're doing it for different purposes than your average knitter or average home dyer is probably going to be doing it. Like if you're doing self-striping the way I do my self-striping, obviously you need your you know, scanning tool, whatever you used to do that, and something to wind the skein. But if you are like a home dyer or, you know, not doing it in great quantity, you could get away with having somebody hold the yarn in their arms, you know, the way people used to wind yarn into balls. You have one person sitting like this, and then the other person could have a nitty naughty. And as long as the nitty naughty is larger or a different size than the original skein, you know, creates a skein a different size, it'll reskein it and mix those colors up. So it could be as simple as that. I would say to make it a little bit easier, you would probably want to have a Swift so that you could put the skein on the Swift, and then you could use your nitty naughty to reskein it. If your Swift is, or yeah, you want to make sure that, again, it's, if you're doing the reskeining in order to mix up the colors, the skein, what you're winding it onto to do the reskeining has to be a different circumference, has to yield a skein that's a different circumference than what it starts out as. That's the main thing. So you could do it with a Swift and a nitty naughty. Doing it as a dyer, it's way easier to do it if you have a skein winder, a motorized skein winder, and a, I'm not actually sure what it's considered because it's a piece of equipment that I do not have. It basically looks like a skein winder, and maybe it is a skein winder. It's just like not a motorized skein winder that can accommodate more than one skein at a time. So you can put all like 3 skeins on that, and then you would be winding it on to your motorized skein winder or a manual one, either way, just so long as they're both set at different lengths. You know, the one that you're winding it onto has to be a different length than what it's coming off of. I know some people do it that way, and I wish I knew the name of that. I know it, it's just not coming to my brain. The way I do it, since I don't do it with a large quantity of my yarns, like self-striping I do, but that's a totally different kettle of fish, as I explained last week. But when I'm doing like tonal variegated stuff, if I want to reskein that, what I do is I take the skeins as they've been dyed, I wind them into balls. So, you know, they go on the skein winder, and I use my ball winder, wind them into balls, and then I take the balls and rewind them into skeins using my motorized skein winder, set again at a different length than what they were originally dyed in, the length they were dyed in. So that's how I do it. My way adds an unnecessary extra step of putting them into ball form first, but I have to do that just because I don't have that other piece of equipment. And right now, since I don't do it with a large enough quantity of yarn to justify buying that other piece of equipment, I'm just not too worried about it. I could probably create a piece of equipment to do that, but again, I don't do it enough that I feel like that's warranted right now. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. If I left something out or if something's still unclear, please let me know, and I'll be happy to try to give you more information about that process. And again, if you guys have any other questions, you know, for the Do You Have Questions thread, please post them there because I'm happy to answer your questions about knitting or dyeing or spinning or life stuff, whatever, you know, within reason, obviously. But yeah, that thread's there for you. Okay, that's everything I've got for you for 90% this week. 10%, aside from just trying to arrange everything so I can leave tomorrow. The only other shenanigan-y kind of thing I had going on this week was last weekend I was out of town, I mentioned, and Bill and I went to Cleveland. I know, I'm from Pittsburgh and I went to Cleveland, and it's so funny because that is really my association with Cleveland is the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers, you know, we're arch rivals and everything. But honestly, I've not done much in Cleveland, and Cleveland is a lovely city. We went because Bill wanted to take me to see Phantom of the Opera. I've never been to Phantom of the Opera, and so we went and saw the matinee of Phantom of the Opera on Saturday, which I will say the music was absolutely beautiful. The voices wonderful. The costuming was stunning, absolutely stunning. The storyline for Phantom of the Opera I found slightly disturbing. Basically, you know, you've got this obsessive, controlling guy who is, you know, chasing after the girl, and then he kidnaps her and is trying to manipulate her, and like he's manipulating the theater owners and blackmailing them essentially and killing people. And it's like, that's disturbing. That's like not, I don't know. I had issues with the storyline. And I think Bill was like, would you please just appreciate it for what it, I'm like, yeah, but that's creepy. Anyway, it was a very good performance, and the set and everything was, the set was really very cool the way they did it, and like things rotated and the whole chandelier thing, and it was very neat. But the storyline itself I find just a bit creepy. So, sorry. I know there's people who absolutely love Phantom of the Opera, and it's not like I wouldn't go see it again probably for all those other elements, but it's not the story that really captivates me. So anyway, we did that on Saturday, and then we spent the night in Cleveland, and we went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on Sunday. I have been past Cleveland a lot, living where I do, and it would have been so easy to go there, but I've never been there, and oh my gosh, that was fantastic. We had the best time there, and you know, music's a big part of my life. I love music. I'm always listening to music. You know, I have ever since I was young. And it amazed me. A lot of things amazed me being there. You know, I learned a lot about different artists that I've known for a long time, but I didn't know these facts about them. That was cool. I saw a lot of stuff because they had a lot of video clips and different things. Like the whole Elvis thing was just so neat because I grew up listening to my mom's Elvis LPs, you know, and so that brought back like all kinds of memories, and you know, just different clips of, and especially like things about, you know, Prince and different musical artists who have died recently. You know, it's like, oh, you know, it was very overwhelming because there's huge emotional ties with music, and that we're not even conscious of a lot of times, I think. But when you're inundated with it all in one day and you're just hearing it over and over and over, like all this stuff, it's like, it was overwhelming. Like I was emotionally overwhelmed going through that place for the whole day. And the other thing that I realized is in my brain, I have lyrics to hundreds of songs stored in my brain that I didn't even know that I knew, because songs would start playing on different displays or media or whatever at this thing, and I'm like singing along. I know these words. It's like, how do I know the words to hundreds and hundreds of songs, and yet I cannot remember where I put my keys? You know, craziness. It made me wonder how much brain capacity has been dedicated to song lyrics in my lifetime. A lot. And that's not a bad thing. And you learn things better when they're set to music too, you know. That's why at one point, I don't remember which display it was, but it was talking about how a lot of times propaganda is set to music, you know, because embeds in the brain. Like the brain has more than one. You're not just hearing the words, but you're associating a melody to it, and that helps the brain capture it and remember it. So it's very interesting. I remember using musical stuff like when I was homeschooling my kids. You know, there was different things that we would learn that were set to music and stuff, and they did learn it better. So anyway, that was a very, very cool day. I had a great time. I'm so glad we got to do that. And honestly, you could probably go through that place every day for a month and still not see and read everything because there was just so much. So anyway, that was 10%. That's all I've got for you there. Shop news, real quick. There is no update this week, obviously. I'm actually not sure when my next shop update will be, with things just being as tenuous as they are. There will be one. I plan to do at least one more before SSK, but just stay tuned on that. I will let you know. But what I will be doing is over the 4th of July weekend, from Friday the 1st through Monday the 4th, I'm going to be having a sale. And I will talk about this next week too, because I do plan to be able to record before this happens, but I thought I'd give you the heads up for it anyway. I'm going to be doing a 15% off sale over the 4th of July weekend, and the code for it will be 4th15, so 4TH15 will be the coupon code to use in the shop, and it'll be good off of any of the in-stock items in the shop. Nothing that has to be pre-ordered, at least not at this point. I don't know. Maybe I'll do pre-orders too. Stay tuned. But there will be at least 15% off everything that is currently in stock in the shop as of the 1st. So I will be doing that because I just feel bad that I'm not able to do an update right now with everything kind of going on that is going on. Let's see. Oh, the other thing is the Fiber Nymph Dye Works second quarter finished object drawing. You have through next Thursday, the 30th, to put pictures of your finished objects for this quarter in that thread in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group. And then I will do a drawing for the winner for that on the first podcast in July. And that will be for a $25 gift certificate to my shop. So I think that's everything. I'm going to go because I have about 50 billion things to get done today before I head out. I'm actually leaving this evening to go to Bill's because we're leaving from his house tomorrow because it's actually shorter by a little bit. So I have to get all my ducks in a row and packed because it's hard to pack ducks. They don't want to stay in the suitcase. So anyway, that's everything. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you next week after I return. Take care. Bye.